because with a department as large as ours, not all the officers know who you are. Myself and the other sergeant, when we set it up, we and the department agreed that we would little corner there.
Now, Mr. Reeves, when
This is one tape, one man, and almost none of it is about the crime. Curtis Reeves is a retired captain of the Tampa Police Department, and what you are about to watch is his direct examination, meaning the questions come from his own lawyer, and the answers are. Reeves said he acted in self-defense, and in February 2022 a jury acquitted him. What follows is how a defense builds a person, all real courtroom tape. It starts where a job interview would. A year and a half on patrol, including his probation, and then an assignment to a selective enforcement unit, undercover work in high-crime areas. He mentions, almost in passing, that the first thing he learned was to assess his environment and the people in it quickly. Remember that line, because a self-defense case will eventually rest on what he says he assessed in a dark cinema.
To be very quickly involved in assessing your environment and the folks that are around you and what's going on. So that's the first thing I learned.
you were in patrol for how long?
About a year and a half, including my probationary period. And then at that point I was assigned as a selective enforcement unit, which was an undercover operation, mostly addressing high crime areas, crimes in progress, stakeouts, that sort of thing.
So you went from a patrol position to a position, would you say that that was a much more dangerous position as a police officer for the Tampa Police Department?
Yes, sir. We were given some training. Working undercover is a completely different set of circumstances than working as a patrol officer, because with a department as large as ours, not all the officers know who you are or may not be able to recognize your car. So you are not only dealing with dangerous people, but you also have to be well aware of the fact that any officer responding to that call may not know who you are.
Did that position offer you any greater responsibility?
I think it developed. I had an excellent sergeant. I had an excellent squad. You're kind of absorbed into the system, and you are developed by the senior officers. And if training comes available, they try to get you into the training programs, or they try to provide training programs for you so that you can kind of get your feet on the ground and try to keep from becoming a victim and be alert and all the things that you have to do to survive and make it home every afternoon.
That sergeant that you had in the selective enforcement unit, was he a pretty special person to you?
He ended up being the head of the bomb squad at some point. He was a sergeant at that time, and I think he was probably the guy that started the bomb squad. He was a very well-rounded individual, and he would share with you at the drop of a hat, and he was always trying to develop us. By us, I mean the other officers, to make us better law enforcement officers, give us a better understanding of what our role was and how to perform that role.
Was he your mentor?
He would be considered my mentor, yes, sir. He was. I worked for him and around him pretty much the rest of his career. He retired before I did.
Did you get more exposure while you were in this particular unit to training?
I tried to take advantage. Like I said early on, I had a couple of incidences there that were pretty serious. I was getting married around that same time. I felt an obligation to kind of do the very best that I could. So I took as many training programs as I could. I applied for them. Oftentimes, because of my lack of tenure on the department, I was assigned to different programs that enhanced my abilities to perform the job. Yes, sir.
Did those training programs include training programs in the use of force and the recognition of threat assessments?
Yes, sir. Before I went on the department, they had an officer that had been killed briefly before I went on. So the entire training program at the department had shifted into an officer survival, at that time they called it officer safety program. So there was a lot of, no matter what kind of class that you took, it was the officer safety, how to survive your environment, how to be aware of your surroundings was always a part of just about all the programs.
Working in that particular unit, was there a considerable amount of volatility?
It was, you were, many times you were in the middle of an offense. If there was a robbery in progress, our job was to try to get there. If it was a domestic situation that got violent and you heard a patrol unit assign the call and you could get there first, you tried to do that. And being in an undercover capacity, you really were not necessarily recognized as a law enforcement officer, so you were often in a position to where you had to be very careful, very cautious for your own safety.
How many years were you in this selective group?
I was in the selective enforcement unit. At that time it was called SEU for about 2 years.
And so where do you go from there?
While I was there, I was assigned to work on apprehending felons that were what we call recidivists. They were multi-felons. And so I had gotten some recognition from the detective division, and on a couple of occasions I had been temporarily assigned to the detective division.
Let's talk about that for a second before we get into the fugitive issues. While you were in the selective enforcement group, were you at times removed from that group in order to assist detectives?
Yes, sir.
And what were those assignments for at that time?
When I was assigned to the detective division, it was because some detective was either tied up on a case or for some reason not present. They needed somebody to keep the caseload moving, so they would send me up there. And I credit that sergeant with that. I think he submitted me for that, and they accepted me.
Your mentor?
My mentor.
You think your mentor was helping you out, trying to get some experience in the detective division?
I think so, yes, sir. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I suspect as much. But I was up there for 60 and 90 days. I think I went up about once or twice, and apparently they liked my work.
And so what happens after selective enforcement? You were talking about the fugitive issues that the Tampa Police Department were having. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what problems they were having back then with reference to fugitives and outstanding warrants.
We had a lot of burglaries and
Now the scale grows. 4 or 5 sergeants reporting to him, squads of 10 or 12, 40 or 50 officers in total, and responsibility for their training and for turning out to anything unusual. There is not a single question here about the charge he is facing. That is the entire point of this passage. By the time the difficult questions arrive, the jury has spent 20 minutes with a career police commander.
we're from 4 to 6 squads working for you, so that could be 10 or 12-man squads, so that could be 40, 50 people. You had 4 or 5 sergeants that would work for you, and you were responsible for providing training for those guys and assisting the sergeants as they provide training to their officers, and to make sure that if you have what we would refer to as a very unusual or a hot call, your job as a lieutenant was to go there, assist the sergeant, and assist the officers as best you could.
So even during that time, you weren't an administrator up in some office, you were still out in the street assisting those squads?
Yes, sir. I guess if I got in trouble more for being on the street than anywhere else. It was an administrative position, and I tried to turn it into an operational position. And it worked, because after that, everybody else started doing it too.
While you were a lieutenant now, overseeing that many squads, who was in charge of the SWAT team?
Well, again, you had a primary responsibility. If I was a lieutenant and anybody else on the team got promoted to any other position anywhere on the department, it didn't change their status on the team. You didn't want to lose the experience or the training that you had in those individuals. So I and myself and the other sergeant, when we set it up, we in the department agreed that we would try to keep that expertise together as long as we could.
1984, you're promoted to captain.
Yes, sir.
Let's tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about that.
Well, as a captain, it depends on your assignment as to how many folks you have working for you. If you're in one of the patrol districts, or you may have that whole district and that whole shift working for you, which could be an awful lot of officers, and the selective enforcement unit was still part of operations, so the patrol division, so you could have those working for you. If you were in the detective division, then you would have as a captain, which I was in just about all of the operational areas of the department. If you were in the detective division, depending upon the assignment that you had, as a captain, when I was in the homicide department, I would have probably 9 to 12 detectives working for me, and if I was in one of the other general investigations, or I think they called it larceny at the time, you may have 20 detectives working for you. If I was in vice control at that time, you may have 60 or 80 detectives working for you.
In 1986, you were captain of the homicide squad, is that correct?
I think about that, yes, sir. I was in the detective division for, I really don't recall, a year or two. I was in patrol division. I think at that time the city was divided in half. I was in District 1 as a commander, I was in District 2 as a commander, I was in the detective division, and ultimately, right toward the end of my career, I was in vice control.
As the captain or the commander, your responsibilities for the safety of your men increased that much more?
I took a personal interest in it, so I guess I've tried to find what was available, what schools were available. I tried to find either managers or supervisors or officers that wanted that type of education or training, and at the same time we still had the annual week-long in-service training class for everybody. And back when I was a detective, I had gotten involved in the educational process, so I was involved in training at the academy all through those years, and through those years we developed quite a few programs. I said we at the academy, everything there is teamwork at the department, so there's a team that does everything, whether it's SEU detectives or whoever. So we developed officer survival programs and general investigations programs. Those are all training programs, and as I instructed in some of those things, I tried to work as many officers that worked for me into them as I could.
May I approach you on?
You may.
Mr. Reeves, I'm going to show you what's been marked as composite exhibit ZZ, and I'd like you to take a look at that composite and tell me if you recognize that composite.
Yes, sir, I do.
And what does that composite consist of?
This is going back to when I graduated from submarine school, when I was qualified in submarines, all the way through my retirement. This is schools. This is probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the schools that I attended. And I say they're not all here because I know that we've looked at them. They're not all there. Some were displaced, but the vast majority of the schools and the training programs that I was personally involved in.
Those particular certificates would be kept by the department, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as you reviewed them, not all of your certificates, your training courses that you took are included in that packet, is that correct?
No, sir. Yes, sir, that's correct. I think we misplaced some. We moved from our house that we're in for a very long time. I think we lost a few of them, and when we tried to get them from the department, they didn't have them.
Okay. Your Honor, we would move Exhibit ZZ into evidence. I'm not going to go through them. It's going to be in evidence, and so the jury can see it.
Yeah.
And then a small, strange, very human detail from the police station afterwards. His eye was still bothering him, and he asked the officers who were interviewing him whether he could borrow their mirror so he could look at it himself. Photographs were taken. It is the kind of moment no one would think to invent, and his lawyer lets it sit.
Put me in the passenger when they were conducting the interview, and I asked them if I could use their little mirror.
And why did you ask them if you could use their mirror?
After I had, my eye was still bothering me, and I had already.
Which eye was that?
Sir?
Which eye was that?
Left eye.
Okay.
Yes. My eye was still bothering me, and I wanted to see if I could see anything in it.
Okay. And does those pictures fairly and accurately depict what you saw in the mirror?
Yes, sir, it does. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what do you see on the left eye, the corner of your left eye, in the state's exhibits?
Yeah, it appears to me that the left corner of my eye, going down across, I don't know, this area right here, from up here on my top of my eyelid down to this little corner there.
Now, Mr. Reeves, when you put the firearm on your lap, why did you do that?
Because you don't know who else is in the theater, you don't know who else is armed, and I didn't want to be I wasn't a threat to anybody else. I was only trying to defend myself. I didn't want anybody else to think that I was a threat.
Is that training, does that come from training and years of training as a law enforcement officer?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, and so you put that gun on your left knee?
I put it on my knee. I think it was my left knee.
After you put that gun on your left knee, did someone come and pick up that gun from your left knee?
Yes, sir. As I was adjusting my glasses and examining my face, I didn't see his badge, but a deputy walked up, and I heard him say that he was a deputy, and so when I leaned back, I pointed at my pistol. It was on my lap, so he picked it up.
Okay. Now, at that moment, were you able to look down at what was in between your feet?
As I put my glasses back on and the deputy was standing there, I looked down between my feet, and yes, I did. I saw the cell phone between my feet.
Madam Clerk, may I see that cell phone? May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Mr. Reeves, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 24. I ask you to take a look at the interior of that exhibit and tell me if you recognize that exhibit.
Yes, sir, I think I do. The white spot up here, that kind of caught my eye. I think it was laying on the floor like that. But this is what it looks like, yes, sir.
Is that the phone that was located between your legs?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Reeves, you You were arrested right there in seat number 9, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, by law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
And you were taken out in handcuffs to a vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you were interviewed.
Yes, sir.
And it's my understanding then you were interviewed by Detective Proctor and Detective Koenig, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The interview that you had with Detective Proctor and Detective Koenig were recorded, right?
Yes, sir.
And did you answer all of their questions?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you encourage them to ask you any question that they needed to ask you there in that interview?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you waived your rights to remain silent
Yes, sir, I
that
did.
day, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you told them that you wanted to cooperate,
Yes, sir.
and did you?
Yes, sir.
May I have a moment?
You may.
No further questions.
Thank you. Yes. Do you, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a short comfort break. Let's take 10 minutes and remember my instructions during the recess, please.
All right, for the recess for 10 minutes.
You want me to just let him go? Tina, call him back just a second.
Oh, and jurors, can I see the jurors back in here?
Sorry.
So sorry, I think one went to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Number 4 is in the.
Okay. We're gonna need to take an early lunch.
It is important to be straight about what this tape is. This is direct examination, his own lawyer, his own account, entirely unchallenged, and it is designed to make a jury see a professional rather than a defendant. The prosecution's case was not this, but the jury heard both over weeks, and in February 2022 they acquitted him, which means that under the law, Curtis Reeves did not commit a crime that day. This channel runs convictions most weeks. It is worth showing what the other outcome looks like. Everything here is public record courtroom tape from 10 Tampa Bay News. Subscribe for more real case files, told with respect for the people at the center of them.